We are 3 games remain before we pull the top 2 players from the NWL and CSW fields for best of 5 series to determine our North American champions. And with 3 rounds to go, just 3 players have any chance at qualifying for that best of 5 finals. Mack Meller and Ian Weinstein, 3 games up on Joe Edley, which means Joe Edley's last stand is about to be shown on stream. Joe has been paired against Mack in the first game. Joe is going to need to win 3 straight games, and one of the folks above him is going to have to lose 3 straight games. But Joe is not out of contention yet in a field full of star players who are out of contention. Joey Swift, Joey Kravchuk, Ori Swift, Noah Walton, all eliminated. Jackson Smiley eliminated. Michael Fagan eliminated. Just 3 players left. We're going to show you Edley's last stand. It is not going to be easy, but we have seen people overcome 3-game deficits before. Joel Sherman beat Nigel Richards 3 games in a row to win a Nationals. So it's happened before. Joe has won 3 North American championships before, and I think nobody would be surprised if he's able to put the pieces together and make a run. But it will be an uphill climb. Mack and Ian looking like they'll be the 2 finalists unless Joe can make a magnificent final stand here. Matt Canik and Morris Greenberg are going to show you NWL action until the end of the drama, and we will pivot over to the CSW lexicon. In that field, only 3 players alive as well. Josh Castellano has had himself a tournament. He is at 20-5, 2 games ahead of Pakistan's Wasim Khatri and 3 games ahead of Alec Seaholm. It'll likely be Josh and either Alec or Wasim in the finals of the CSW lexicon. If we need to, we're prepared to pivot over there and show the exciting games in the CSW field. But don't forget that this is a 31-game tournament, and while the top 2 compete for the prize, 3rd through 10th all win money. I think 10th actually gets a dictionary, so still play for. The players are seated, so Morris and I are going to cut over now to the game board where Joe gets to attempt his final stand. Joe and Mack, we've seen this matchup before. We're going to see it again. Boy, Morris, I'm excited. How about you?
Yeah, this should be great. I mean, if you're looking at the odds, and you think Joe has roughly, I don't know, a 45% chance to beat Matt, uh, cube that number, and that's roughly his chances to make it to the finals. So it's going to be a small amount, but Joe can do it.
John Chu running simulations on TSH, giving Joe Edley about a 9% chance to reach the finals. 3 straight wins would be flipping heads 3 straight times, but you're not flipping coins when you play against Mack Meller. He is so incredibly good at the game of Scrabble. You're probably not going to outplay him. You can play your best game, but you're also going to need some help from the tile bag to beat someone as solid as Mack.
Yeah, absolutely. So, uh, this should be an interesting game. We saw the aftermath of last game with Mac and Chloe discussing so many things in depth that Mac actually, for the first time this tournament, had a word knowledge error. And he thought quartals was valid. It worked out great for him last time. But one thing that I think we haven't maybe fully given Joe his due credit for is he's been really great with the words this tournament. We saw him insta challenge Gallo earlier on, and if Mac makes any sort of word mishap like Quartles, Joe might be the one to quickly call that off.
Joe had one of the plays of the tournament in his previous matchup on stream against Mac in a game where he was nearly dead, almost no bingo lines on the board out of EEHLOST. Joe bingos through an L with the word theelols, TheeLols. That was awesome. Joe has always known a lot of words, will continue to know a lot of words. But yeah, never discount this guy. He's won 3 North American championships for a reason. We'll see if he can do what he needs to do to make that 4.
Yeah, so it looks like they're briefly discussing things for a bit. I think like we've seen their friendly relationship to the point where last game while Mac and Chloe were playing, Joe quickly gave a thumbs down to indicate he lost. And they all gave a little chuckle. So uh it's really nice to see even though there's competitive spirit over the board, there's not contentious spirit in this matchup.
Yeah, there's no place for bad blood in Scrabble. You play the same people so often. If you do have some bad blood, you really need to bury that hatchet because you're bound to meet the same person across the board dozens more times across the course of your tournament career. And Mac, a fantastic dude. Joe, been known as a good guy around the game for a long time. And again, the relationship between these two players as Joe coached Mac when he was getting into the game, although Mac now needs no coaching. In fact, I think we could all use a little coaching from him. This is going to be such a cool way for Mac to qualify for his first finals in this event, but would also be a really cool way for Joe to make a big statement and qualify for his finals. Mac has been one of the top players in North America for so long and has never been able to put it together at this tournament. He does have a second place finish, but it's not like that tournament came down to the wire. That one stomped by a name we're all very familiar with, Mr. Will Anderson, the champion, when Mac finished second. Mac has also finished third in this tournament once before. And other than that, his highest finish is ninth. Mac is far overdue for one of these, but there are so many talented players in North America, and it's not necessarily about being the best player in the room. You also have to draw well.
Yeah, and the year Mac came in second, if I recall, I think Will was Gibsonized going into the last day, and it was as a result of Mac winning against, at the time, the second place person, Alex Seaholm, who has also won a nationals, which just shows you, right, Mac's been in it with champions of the past so often, and it feels like he's due for one of these eventually.
Both of these have done so much to progress Scrabble to where it is as well. Scrabble is nowhere close to a solved game yet, and that's what makes it so fun. But we're getting smarter and smarter with every passing year, every new program, every new study tool, and every new super genius who's able to analyze these positions. But Joe wrote Everything Scrabble, which is one of the first books I ever bought when I was getting into the scene about 18 years ago. He's putting his knowledge and wisdom out there for players to learn and grow from. And of course, Mac now has created so much content on his YouTube channel that help people learn, approach, and expand their understanding of this game. You don't see knowledge like that put out there for free in many sub communities. In chess, you have these war rooms where they strategize and plan and go through sequences and then share it with nobody. In Scrabble, these guys put it all out there. They just want people to learn. They're both students of this game. And the fact that they're always students of this game is what makes them such a great player over the board. You can always learn, you can always improve, and you always need to try to learn and improve. That's why these guys are here at the end of this tournament.
Yeah, and I think one thing to monitor here. So if the game does get out of hand quickly, right? Mac is very, very likely to make the finals, even more likely than Joe is not to make the finals. Because for Joe to make the finals, he has to win out, and one of Mac or Ian has to lose out. For Mac to make the finals, he just needs to outpace either Joe or Ian. So uh, he's right getting pretty close to like 99+% chance to win this game. So, but it's important for him to not get too sloppy, right? Even if he's uh, winning in a commanding position up 150 points or something like that during the game, he has to remember that he still wants to stay as sharp today so that he doesn't go into tomorrow feeling sloppy at all. So that's one thing I'm going to definitely monitor for. I mean, Mac is about as precise a player as we've seen on stream. We saw that in his post game analysis with Chloe, how he was just so methodically going through all the different permutations and combinations of different pre end games and end games. But yeah, that is definitely something from a mental perspective that I'm curious about.
Announcements running very long today. It looks like today is the day they're opting to hand out all of the year-long awards. There are a number of these that they're giving out every year at the SPC. Again, this serves as the de facto national or North American championship. This is the biggest tournament of the year in North America. So if you're going to give accolades out, we're going to do it here. They recognize directors, NASPA's Person of the Year, but also a number of different awards. The highest spread accumulated across the year, the most games played, the most unique states played in, player of the year, highest spread in a given tournament. There's all kinds of different awards. Mac already had to get up and get one and bring it back to his table. I don't know which one that was, but we apologize for the delay. Joe and Mac have to sit here awkwardly on camera as this one's kind of dragging on. We will get Scrabble started as soon as possible, but it's very unfair to our to these two players to have to try to play while these announcements are going on. It's unfair to the people who have played some great Scrabble and won these awards to have their moment to shine interrupted by tile shaking. So we'll get the game started as soon as we can, but we're going to let these people get the claps that they deserve for all they've done over the last calendar year.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And it's always nice to have some of these awards, like especially the ones that reward playing a lot and also playing well. I I think Great Scrabble can take a lot of time and energy off the board, but it's really great to see people who excel consistently uh, over a lot of tournaments throughout the year. So that's nice that like having I think highest cumulative spread throughout all of your tournaments is an award. So that would require both getting a lot of spread per tournament, but also playing in a lot of tournaments.
A lot of awards going out. It looks like we may be winding down on these. The claps seem to be getting less and less enthusiastic from the crowd with each passing one. So maybe we're approaching the end. I don't know how many of these are. I don't know how many there are, but we will get started as soon as possible for Joe to start Joe's last stand.
Yeah, but
Let's
Joe
pivot
looks
over
like
and look
he's
at other standings. I'll point out Divisions 1 and CSW are going to a best of 5 finals, but no other division is going to be decided with a set like that. Every other division just doing the standard nationals format, playing 31 games, and the player atop the standing will be crowned the champion. In Division 2 right now, Mike Johnson, 2 games up on the field. He has been on fire all tournament. He sits at 19-6, 2 games ahead of 3 players, Brian Rich Gruber, Darren True, and upstart Noah Goldstein in second, third, and fourth, 2 games behind Mike with 6 to play. In Division 3, David Garcia is 2 games up on Ken Louie and 3 games up on David Schumann. And in Division 4, Diane Peterzak continuing her assault on this division. She is at 20-5 plus 2,138 spread points. That is domination from her. She's picked up nearly 100 rating points. Deborah Komatsu behind her in second place at 17-8, and a big pack of players at 17-8. Deborah Komatsu, Kayla Zochowski, Ellen Goffin, Ross Fiddler, and Paul Rickhoff all having themselves great tournaments. Each of those players picking up 70 plus points of rating so far as well. So 6 more games in every other division, 3 more in the top NWL division and the CSW division before pulling off the top 2 players. Exciting stuff. 6 games left for these players in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah, and obviously we have these top 2 divisions of the CSW Division 1 and the NWL Division 1. It seems like there are a few spots that are getting pretty darn close to being locked up. and probably after this round, some will be statistically locked up.
But still, tons of money moving around. The last 6 games at a Nationals always seem to be the predictor of your performance. If you win your last 6 games, even if you've had a mediocre tournament the entire time, even if you're sitting there right now at 13-12, if you win out 19-12, that cashes most years at a National. So the last 6 games, always the most important 6 games. Anybody can end with a great result with a hot run here. Anybody can end with a terrible result. If you lose your last 6, you could be, sitting at 19 and whatever right now. Lose your last 6, that goes from a great tournament to an abysmal one all of a sudden. Joe finally given the green light to play as we've got these announcements winding down. Joe will need to defeat either Mack Meller or Ian Weinstein 3 straight games to keep his hopes of a title alive. And we are off. A W, the first tile for Joe. Not how you'd like to start, drawing a terrible letter like that, but still plenty more to work his way out of this.
Yeah, so there's definitely I think yeah, the center play of Wiz just seems simple enough here. I mean, you those are probably the 2 tiles you'd want to get rid of most. The W and the second I, and then add the Z to make it point scoring, no complaints.
Yeah, Wiz and ZIN, the other reasonable option for Joe, but this is so much better defensively. Zin takes the back S, the back E. Even though it holds double N's, this is definitely Joe's best play. 26 seconds is all he needs to figure that out. We're on to Mack's turn. EEEFOTY in this game for him. FEEZE plays through the Z in Wiz for 19 points. FOZY plays through the Z for 24. OYEZ down to the Z. This is a tough turn for Mack, and he doesn't have many plays at all. Would you be looking to play off all 3 of your E's in fees or none of them in FOZY here, Morris?
Really good question. I mean, it looks like Mac right now is preferring Fozy, and I think that's pretty reasonable. I mean, Wiz is a fairly slow starting game, right? The Z makes it harder to make long plays, parallel to Wiz. So if you make Fozy, I mean, the game will start out fairly slowly, and you can maybe shed an E or two the following turn. Whereas Fees, since Fees has some back hooks and also the final E of Fees could be hooked to make nice sevens, it feels like that would be a faster game, and Mac might not have the advantage with the tiles right now in a faster game, or the scoreboard for that matter, since Wiz scores more than Fees. So I think I might lean towards Fozy, but it's going to be pretty close.
Might also see the new word yeet, YEET, just added in the most recent lexical update, but I think that's an inferior play. Fozy feels so strange holding EEET, but this plays so much more defensive than Fees that it crushes a computer simulation. This coming out 7 points ahead of the other option in Fees, 6 points ahead of Oyez. Mac, so methodical. He's going to get these turns right, even if it takes him a minute or 2 to get there. Fozy, a correct decision from Mac. Joe ahead by 6 now, 30-24. AIINNRS is a frustrating rack for him. No bingos that play, no reasonable scoring options because all of your tiles score 1. The standout play here for Joe through the I and Wiz is Inia, INIA. 16 is about all you're going to score, and INRS is a great leave. So Inia looks like a really good play for Joe. One of the bad things about that play is it limits bingo options and then keeps bingo-prone tiles. So Joe may be more inclined to open the board with a little fish like Finn or Win here. What do you think, Morris?
Yeah, well, it looks like he's playing Ani as we speak, so maybe he's setting up the R front hook. One thing to note also is if Mac played Fees last turn, Joe would have had Cyrenian. So it really shows some of the merits to the play choice Mac made. It forces Joe into a less comfortable position, and Uh, yeah, it seems like it's probably worked out better for Mac.
I've used the term triple double in Scrabble several times on this stream. You pull up or three different sets of doubled letters like IINNRR. I don't have a term for this one yet. This looks like a super awesome full house plus. Three E's, two R's, and two T's. The rack for Mac here leads to an interesting turn for him. When you have a rack like this with bingo prone tiles but too many duplicates, a lot of the time you look to just play one of each of those tiles, but you can also play longer here. Re-wet through the W in Whiz, teeter, knocking out the ANI front hook are longer plays Matt can make here. Or of course you can just play ERT or EERT in different places. So lots for Mac to think about here. I think the one big thing is, to me, ANI is a clear R telegraph, especially if Matt connects the dots and realizes that Inia, with those same three tiles played through the I in Whiz, Joe must have an R if he plays Annie like that. I'd look to play Teeter or something else and knock out that R hook. What do you think, Morris?
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I mean, I feel like we might be biased because I don't think Joe's bingo plays if Mac knocks out that spot effectively. So I don't want Joe's actual scene rack to influence my play decision here too much. But yeah, Mac has re-wet setup, which I think in a vacuum is a better play. But yeah, Teeter with the Ronnie hook. If you realize that it's going to be hard often for Joe to bingo with this board if you knock out that spot, it feels stronger by the minute.
Scrabble has a surprising amount of overlap with poker for someone who is new to the game, who hasn't played it at a high level before. You have to try to make inferences about the letters your opponent left behind, and the better your opponent is, the easier it is to make those inferences. Against a bad player, ANI is just a bad play. They didn't see Inia. Against a player as good as Joe Edley, he probably saw Inia and chose to make this sacrifice. He's not just derping. You understand that he's making the sacrifice on purpose. You respect his game like that. But even with an R inferred on Joe's rack, Re-Wet is winning a sim for Mac. So once again, showing in just a few minutes or less, he can take very complicated positions, digest them, and what seems to be solve each of these puzzles. He's been so good all tournament, but Re-Wet does allow Joe's bingo of Sordini to fit on this board. Sordini is 75 in that spot. So Sordini puts Joe ahead 114 to 40, and Mac will need a good draw here to try to counter bingo through one of the floaters in this word.
Yeah, and I think Mac played Sordino earlier in the tournament, maybe even against Joe. I forget who he played it against. So Sordini is the plural of Sordino. As we saw in that other game, Sordino cannot take an S. That's because its plural is Sordini.
Sordino was played as an opening move by Mac against Seth in a game where we saw Mac bingo 4 times and still lose. So that was crazy. Mac has found a great draw into ERT, AMB, and a blank. Mac will bingo back into Joe's bingo. He'll just have to find the one that he likes the best. The max he could score on this turn, 80 points. Two different plays will do that. One on top of this board is the 7-letter bromate, Bromate, making Ronnie. The other through the I in Barmiest, or in Sordini rather, is the word Barmiest, making the blank an S. He's got other 78-point options as well, such as Bregmata to the A in Annie. So lots of different options here. He gets to choose offense versus defense. With the deficit, I think you just grab points here as much as you can. But Morris, tell us how you would navigate this turn as Mac.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think, yeah. So I mean, he's shifting around between Bromate and Barmiest right now. Uh, I think I would lean towards Bromate between these two plays. I would also be curious of Bromate making Rift and OE looks interesting as well. It will score fewer points, but could lead to the board becoming more clunked up quickly, which could be nice. So yeah, lots to consider here. Scoreboard's obviously a factor, but you might want to consider what sort of hooks Joe could have, what sort of spots different plays open.
This is also a situation where you can figure out how much Mac respects his opponent, perhaps. In this situation, if I know the words, I love playing Bromate here. Bromate takes two back hooks, a D and an S. And I think there are many mid-level Division One players who might not be sure of them. If I'm 100% and my opponent might not be, I love the idea of trying to set up these hooks. Now, Joe is probably 100% on these hooks. Joe deserves that respect in his game. But Bromate, independent of that hook, I think is probably the strongest option here for Mac. 80 points for him. He's up six now, 120, 114. Joe has found the X and some consonants in his post bingo draw. ADDAX down from the A, and Bromate feels like the natural play here, but maybe Joe wants to spend a little bit longer, think about setting up bromated plays with the two Ds he's found on this rack. Tax beneath bromate sets up places for Joe to play his D and backhook tax with either an A or an I next turn to score some huge points. I love this extra second here from Joe, passing up on Adax and taking what looks like a stronger play given what he's leaving.
Yeah, I think tax makes all the sense in the world here. The D off of bromated could be a nice way to shed both of them next turn with a play like did or dud if he draws one of those vowels. So a big fan of that play.
Yeah, and simulation putting tax ahead, that extra little oomph, holding the D's on your rack makes tax a really good play for Joe. Man, we are seeing such high level Scrabble from the players at the top of this field. It's been a treat beginning to end. Mac now on CEFHIRS looks like a bingo prone rack, but no bingo's home for Mac. We'll get to see him navigate another interesting position. The CHRS combination with the vowels he has is so nice together and synergistic. IF and RIFF, or FE and RIFF, are ways for Mac to score well, 31 and 33 respectively for those plays. Or he can look to play off more tiles and score some points. FEHS on top of Bromate scores 42 and holds CIR. This is a challenging turn for Mac. Morris, does your gut say play two tiles, RIFF, or do you try to score a little bit better here?
So it looks like he even has French set up right now, but shifting to if. Or shifting between those two, I should say. So, yeah, really interesting decision point. I mean, Mac doesn't have the lead right now, so uh, I think if looks really strong here. I mean, the S on this board actually isn't that good at tile. If you look, there are no spots for it to pluralize anything, as Sordini cannot take an S. Um, but I think the CHERS leave is so strong in general that it might be able to play through like the I or the N in Sordini, or just in a future turn, you might be able to cash in those letters for a nice score. So I'm a fan of Riff as he did here.
Yeah, the one thing Mac had to be scared of on that turn is if Joe stacks on top of or underneath Sordini, all the bingo lines on this board have dried up, and Mac is keeping bingo prone stuff. But this play is just so solid, he has to make it, I think, and he'll be rewarded immensely as choosier is what he's pulled into, and choosier is not blocked as Joe has a huge score on the top of this board. So a great sequence there for Mac. Keep the bingo prone combination CEHRS and avoid the trap of falling or of pulling two consonants, instead finding two vowels. Choosier is 86, but Sorosh 98 points. The play Mac has found here his best bingo. Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sarosh, not choosier, but yeah, Mac played it before I could even speak. That's how quick he is. So, yeah, takes a nice lead on the scoreboard. The one thing that's good for Joe is that Hurd created two big lanes. The hat spot can take a bunch of hooks in front of it. C, T, P, S, W, I think. So he'll be able to get some scoring there. But yeah, now Mac is in commanding position.
Commanding position indeed. Joe opens the board and gets smacked hard by Mac and then smacked hard by the tile bag as he's found 6 consonants on this turn. He has opened up that line on top. He's drawn the S he needs to front hook HAT, but hasn't drawn a reasonable word. Jets or jest plays up in that spot for 40. And we've seen Joe play defense all tournament, but JIRD through the I in Sordini sets up a second line, holds ENST, which is incredibly synergistic. Joe passing up on that play quickly to play defense here. That's an interesting turn for Joe.
Yeah, well, I think he kept DNR last turn, drew Jest, played Jest, so maybe he just likes to leave him DNR a lot. I kid. Jared looks really good too. And it was about as an ideal of time to leave that spot open, given that Mac is drawing 7 random tiles after Sarosh, which in this case, he wouldn't have been able to make a play front hooking hat. So maybe a bit of a miss, but I think it's a reasonable strategy. If you look, Joe's only 25 behind on the scoreboard, and he's not resorting to bingoing to catch up necessarily. He just needs Mac to not draw great, and he can get another big play this coming turn.
Yeah, the patience, the game from Joe, rather than Jerd and try to bingo next turn to catch up, he thinks I've got plenty of time. Easy breezy does it. I'll just take my time, score some points, maybe eventually pick up that blank. I'll catch you, but not right now. Mac on turn now, a 25-point lead and a big decision for him. He has Eluvial set up on his rack, ELUVIAL. That plays through the I in Sordini for 24, but Ovule down from the O is a really strong option as well. Ovule is 36 points, keeps AEL together over Eluvial's 24 points holding an E. But Ovule does things that Mac does not want to do to the board. The board is nice, closed, and tight. He's got an edge in this game. Playing Ovule is a hard play to make. It's a lot of points to leave on the table, though, to play Eluvial for defense here. This is a tricky turn for Mac. We're going to see him think about this for a minute.
Yeah, really, really interesting. I mean, there are other things to consider here. Alluvial plays off 2 more tiles, and it plays off an A specifically when there are a fair amount of A's unseen in the game. So I understand the uh, preference towards alluvial right now. And it also, I mean, there are a lot of plays that could sneakily score a lot in either spot, though. So maybe he needs to think about how likely is it that Joe has something like Quant through the N in Sordini, which will put him right back in the game. How likely is it he could find a play that starts with the O to score a lot? Something like I'm trying to see what could be unseen from Mac's perspective. Something like Ovary might be the highest scoring play, starting from the O in Sordini. So he needs to really reason this out in term, and he's shifting back and forth between these two options. Um, it's not clear cut to me. I bet it'll be pretty close in the set.
This is a turn that's going to have huge consequences. Eluvial gives nothing back, but with Joe's rack right now, Ovule would give both Landmark from the L and Mandrake to the E for 100 points for
Nice.
Joe. So Mac opting to play defense here. And in this instance, with Joe's rack, defense definitely the correct decision for Mac. That's a big swing in this game.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that was really astute. Like the more I looked at the spot for Sordini, I wasn't seeing devastating plays that could really tilt it in favor of knocking out the spot for Ovule. Right, like if Ovary is the most scary thing you're looking at in the bag, that's not that scary of an outcome. Right, like it will score in the 40s, which yeah, isn't ideal, but it's not the end of the world when you have a 50-point lead. So I think that it was a very reasonable play by Mac and really astute. And I think actually probably something that's evolved in his game a bit. I think if you looked at his game a few years ago, he might have been more inclined to play off fuel, and I think it's something he's refined a bit.
Just this is a beautiful example of when to deviate from the equity. According to a computer simulation, Ovule is 8 points better, but Mac is leaving equity on the table. It's always gutsy to do that on stream, but it feels so appropriate. Yeah, he had a small lead, only 25 points in a turn, but that's not a small lead on a board shaped like this. So Mac wisely opting to play some defense, and it pays huge dividends for him. Joe, instead of being able to play Mandrake or Landmark on this turn, backed into just playing Mark. That's still going to create some opportunity on this board for him. But man, Mandrake would have been an absolutely different game of Scrabble for Joe. EGIOOPT is Max Rack. Poke feels really obvious and correct next to Mark here, but Mac has the goodies to try to make stacking plays alongside Mark. He's going to make sure he doesn't have anything there. And here we go with poke. I don't think there's anything to discuss on this turn. What do you say, Morris?
Yeah, I might be looking for extensions like Slowpoke. I don't know what other extensions there are during this game, but that is definitely going to be a fun thing to monitor. Maybe Cowpoke wouldn't go all the way to the triple. But yeah, if you see any other ones in chat, go for it.
3 or 4 extensions to poke that would reach over and hit the triple. Outspoke, slow poke, misspoke, and fore spoke. FORE spoke. The only extensions that exist in this lexicon.
Yeah, so and Mac is very close to outspoke. He just needs the last U in the bag. Obviously, you don't tunnel vision to that, even if you're up 62 points. But it looks like if anyone's gonna get that, Mac is the likelier of the two. So Joe right now looks like he has quad aligned. I might have even considered something like Qua and Ab off the B in Bromate here, just to create the Aqua lane, given that Joe is holding a second A. This scores more, but this does feel like he needs to start opening things up.
Man, yeah, Aqua and AB, just 18 points, but with 2 unseen A's from Joe's perspective and an A he's holding, that's a play that is neat. Computer likes Joe's gut instinct of quad here, though. There's just 7 extra points, but Computer's not good at navigating closed boards. That was an interesting turn for Joe, and with 17 minutes plus on his clock, he didn't spend a lot of time there. But maybe he thinks I'm going to need this to go into the trenches to solve a tight pre-end game situation. Quad the play from Joe. He preserves his clock, and Mac on EGIIOST will have to figure out how much of this rack he wants to break up and how much he wants to keep together in this game. Reasonable fishing plays GIP down to the P in poke, keeps EIOST, scores 12. He also has the G to front hook RIFF and make Griff. That will give him some scoring opportunity up there as well. So cashing the G up top with either GO or SIG and Griff makes a little bit of sense. Fishing on the bottom makes sense, but Mac is probably looking to do something a little bit different than both of those. He'd like to play a few more tiles and score as many points as possible this turn. I don't see good ways for him to do that. Maybe Mac can set up, since he has the case S, something like Idiot through the D in Sordini, but I think we're probably going to see Tog and Griff from him. 2 eyes as the leave there, but you don't want to open this board up for Joe. A tough turn for Mac. What is your gut instinct saying, Morris?
So Mac has GIP set up, and I really like that. It kind of closes off the bottom really nicely. Although, yeah, Griff also is interesting, especially because um, by putting the tile there, if Joe tries to make a play in a future turn, like let's say Joe plays Ut off the T in Rewet, you can then just go downwards and don't need to worry as much about opening things on the top of the board because Griff plays already obstruct that area. So I do, yeah, Griff and Tog is really nice. I get Gip as well. Both interesting ideas for sure. I don't think Idiot or something like that is worthwhile though, because there is still a blank unseen. So even though Mac has the case S, the blank is even more powerful than the S. That's the ultimate trump card. So I would hold off on S setups for a bit, but definitely am thinking in this position that I might want to keep the S for a while in case the blank does come out at some point. Then you have the key tile to shape the board.
Yeah, you don't want to cash the S and then let Joe set up the blank. You have a good situation here. Mac is by no means 100% to win this game, but significantly above 50% with the score what it is right now. He's got to figure out how much offense to play, how much defense to play, how much board control he needs to do. And Joe is not going to go away in this game. Joe is going to figure out ways to climb back in. Joe's got to clean his rack up before he takes that swing, though. AEGNUUW is not going to yield any big plays for Joe next turn.
Yeah, unfortunately, the new word of Wagyu doesn't look playable in this board right now. Otherwise, that would be a great board clearing play that's been added. So it looks like Hack plays Idiot. Wow, I am surprised by this, honestly. With a blank unseen and quad, I don't think says much about whether Joe has a blank or not. That feels a bit riskier than I was expecting, but yeah, it's definitely an option.
Mac a master of calculating when to gamble and when to not. And really, there's only one bad thing that can happen. If Joe has a 7 letter word with the blank, and the blank is an S, and the S is at the end of the word, then Mac gets punished. The odds that that happen have to feel very low to Mac. And if he's able to pounce on this idiot's hook next turn, he'll be able to score 30 or 40. Even a bingo from Joe probably won't be enough to catch up in this game. So, idiot, high risk, high reward, but the risk unlikely to hit. Nobody's home for Joe as well. A calculated gamble from Mac and one that's going to pay huge dividends for him.
Yeah, and if you're Joe, I think this is the right move, exchanging. I'm actually surprised he didn't exchange all seven because E's and N's were the most common tile unseen to, the two most common tiles unseen to him, and with the blank still out, like it feels like you really need to go for that at this point. Uh, so I probably would have exchanged seven there. Uh, but I think exchanging seems right. Just at this point, you're not going to be able to slog through WGUU quickly at all. And so you kind of need to just bite the bullet once and hope for the best.
There is something to be said in terms of exchange 5 over exchange 7. If you exchange 7, Mac knows you didn't have the blank. There's 7 chances for you to go draw it, but you know there's no way you kept it. Keeping 2 tiles here gives some illusion, to Mac that maybe S blank or both are on Joe's rack. So I do like, adding a little bit of fog of war there, keeping at least 1 tile, giving Mac something to sweat about. But after Mac plays Idiot, he either had the worst rack in the world or he's sitting on at least the S right now. So I don't know if you're going to confuse him too much by introducing that fog of war. But EN, the leave for Joe, and he dodges the E's and N's in the bag, but also doesn't find the blank. Mac on AEEGLSV, no spot to play the bingo selvage, and he'll need to figure out now if I'm going to knock out the idiot's hook or if I'm going to cash in the G with Griff and leave Idiot for another turn. Joe having just exchanged 5 is scary for Mac. Maybe he did hold on to that blank. What else Warren's holding on to in this pool? There's no S's, there's no R's. I think the blank is in Joe's range a decent amount of the time after a trade 5. That spot scares me. But Veg and Griff holding AELS is a really good play. Tough turn for Mac.
Yeah, I think I would probably take the lower variants and play either Vegas or Gavels. To me, like the more turns you leave the idiot spot open, the more chances you give Joe to be able to get the really high point bingo he needs. So Veg in a vacuum is probably better for your average score, but it feels worse for limiting Joe's average score in net spread, at least in my view. Mac does go with Veg, and Griff, and so it will work out in this scenario, but yeah, it's definitely. Ooh, he's playing very quickly.
Yeah,
Oolong,
he's playing
nice.
too
Good
long.
kind of
This
tea.
is so nice. This is so nice. Easily Joe's best play here. Mac down to 4 minutes already in this game. So Joe, even though he's down, is able to apply some pressure on Mac here, playing quickly again. Over 16 minutes left in this game for Joe. Just four for Mac. But Mac sees every play almost instantly every turn. He's so good. I doubt he'll be phased much by the clock pressure. He's up 48. AAELNSU does not bingo for Mac on this board. He's got to be laser focused on the G that Joe just exposed. Two I's, two N's, and a blank unseen has to give him some pause about Joe bingoing there. There is a second line to bingo on this board. That would be a 7 letter word ending in an A playing on top of the B in bromated. Those bingos are unlikely. ING bingos are quite likely. And Mac, in a time crunch, just has to go with his gut, block the worst case scenario. This is fantastic from him.
Yeah, so one thing to monitor here, I mean, Mac had a 48-point lead before this turn. If he keeps drawing one pointers, Joe could sneak his way back. I mean, bingoing isn't the only way to win a game. You just need to outscore your opponent. And so Joe right now has the highest scoring tile on either of their racks. If he can score right 20 points and Mac is scoring 12 points for a few turns in a row, all of a sudden it's a close game and not something to sleep on. Now, the underrated part is that Mac has the S, which is often a tile that you can leverage most effectively by making some sort of clever setup play. But yeah, I wouldn't count Joe out here, especially there are sneaky things like Taxer is available. So maybe he plays something like Taxer, EW, and Woe, which is a fair amount of points on this board. Um, Something like that could be good here.
Looking at this unseen pool too for Joe, it's pretty inflexible. There's not a lot he has to worry about. There are scoring options, but it's just kind of messy. Matt can have a lot of bad racks with those combinations, so maybe he could claw back in otherwise. But there's only or 7 unseen tiles to Joe. He's not going to have many turns left in this game. I'll also point out Joe must win all 3 games to win this tournament. Spread doesn't matter anymore. You play to win the game. You've got to open up new space on this board. Etude, a good way to do that, and keep the time pressure on Mac as well. Etude holding EIW. This is probably going to be the last or second to last time Joe gets to reach into this tile bag. Will he find the blank and give us a game? Let's see. B, C, N, and there it is, the blank, but an unwieldy combination to go with it. And now Mac sees 3 tiles left in the bag, 10 unseen. Will he empty the bag or will he play smaller? GAUN above Etude knocks down all of those lines, but he has to be worried about nightmare situations where Joe has a 9 through AG or a 9 through any of the words Mac puts out there on the board. He has a lot to think about and very little time to do it. He's going to have to go with his gut here, and I don't know what the right move is.
Yeah, so it looks like he's leaning towards Gone, making the 3 overlaps. Uh, and yeah, this is really interesting because, and it's a good thing that Mac blocked Lee the previous turn. Otherwise, ING bingos would be really, really tough for him to calculate. So Mac is doing his due diligence here. Uh, I mean, the bag from Mac's perspective, that can't be right now. I think the bag isn't updated because the
It,
W isn't in
it
there
is
from his
It
perspective.
is not,
So
but I put I put in the entire unseen pool, BCEIINPWY blank, and the only bingos Joe could possibly have played through the ETU in Etude. There were a number of them there, but no nines. And Mac, with under 3 minutes on his clock, probably went through something very similar to what I just did with an anagrammer, but he did it in his head. He realizes this is where the threats are. If I knock these out, I don't see anything that's going to burn me with that unseen pool. This is a great play from Matt going with his gut, and that's going to guide him to a victory in this game.
Yeah, I don't see any clever way Joe can at this point create some sort of great play option for him, right? If something like e-cig were valid, right, for like an e-cigarette, he could do something like cig first and then do e-cig and something the other direction. But yeah, this game, I think, means it's over, and more importantly, that means we're going to have our two finalists as Mack Meller and Ian Weinstein in the NWL division. So if nothing weird happens in these next few moves, I think we'll be shifting to CSW in the last two games.
Yeah, this was Joe Edley's last stand, and he fought valiantly, but Mac playing a great game, drawing some stuff, and slamming the door shut on this one. Our NWL finals with 2 games to go are going to be Mack Meller and Ian Weinstein, each double Gibsonized at the top of this division. They'll play tomorrow in a best of 5 for a North American championship and $10,000. This is so overdue for Mac, but I am so happy for him to see him put it together in this tournament that I know means so much to him.
Yeah, and for that matter, Ian actually finished better than Mac the last time this tournament was in Indiana. I know earlier you were talking about how a lot of Northeast players were at right, the five people going into today were all in the Eastern time zone. So I do wonder to what extent these large Scrabble tournaments, if people don't adjust their time zone quickly, if that induces mistakes possibly, right? The fact that all people in who were really in contention here were part of the same time zone could be a factor. But in general, maybe Indiana is just a place where Ian plays really well. Ian finished second the last time the tournament was in Indiana, and he could maybe finish second or first this time around.
A gentleman from the South winning the North American Championship in Fort Wayne, Indiana, a few years ago. That the late David Gibson. We'll see if another gentleman from the South able to win in Ian Weinstein, or if Mack Meller will take his first North American Championship. Boy, it just felt like a matter of time before Mack was in the finals. The last time I really feel this feeling happened in Scrabble was when Brian Capoletto finally put it all together. Brian was that whiz kid for years and years, just so technically sound. When Brian finally won his first championship, it was like, yeah, it's about time that happened. And I think the Scrabble world agrees. It's about time Mac gets a championship, but he's going to have to beat Ian Weinstein, who is absolutely no slouch tomorrow in a best of 5. We'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, I will say the one other one this reminds me of is when Will Anderson won. It felt like a few years in a row he was getting closer and closer, and it felt like, yeah, it was about time that everything aligned for him there. And I think similarly to this one, to that one, I mean, I know there's a best of 5 finals tomorrow, so it is roughly a coin flip which of Mac or Ian gets it. It was fairly smooth sailing for Mac, right? He's going to be Gibsonized with 2 rounds to go to make the finals. It's been a really dominant performance we've been privileged to see on stream.
Man, he has played so well. I think by my count, we've seen 2 errors from Mack Meller, and both are just freak errors. One was extending the 6-letter lintic to the 9-letter lenticule. There are probably 0 players in this room who make that play. And the other was as Mac bingoed out against Joe Edley in a previous matchup. Mac played an out bingo when he had a different out bingo that scored 3 extra points, but it didn't make any difference. Mac brought down the hammer in that game and won by a huge margin anyway. Otherwise, we have seen technical, flawless play, Mack beautifully interweaving the equity versus the situation at hand. He has played so well, so consistently all tournament. He absolutely deserves this finish. Congrats to him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll go over to Mike.
Yeah, let's cut to it.
Could have played Wag here for 22. But if I had done that, I would have kept GEUU. So I thought, given the circumstance, no, GNEU. GNUU. WAG. No. UUEN. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I can't remember, but it was UUE
Okay.
with a G. No, the G wasn't living on the board. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I had GES. And it was interesting. I could have dropped GO, but I didn't want to give you this line and keep 2 I's with a few more left. And I mean, I figured it was very unlikely you had the blank and had a bingo with making it as an S. And I had Selvage here and it didn't play. I could have cashed in with Vegas, but I don't know. I think I played a little too risky there. This was interesting. I passed up Ovule for 12 more to try to really lock down the board.
Well, I understand that. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows what I have?
Right. Yeah.
I picked up, after playing Mark, I picked up quad with ANU, which was horrible. I hated to keep a U, but I have 2 U's and I can't get rid of 2 U's. Not with that rack. So would have loved to have played unique, but I didn't have an I.
Yeah.
So keeping ANU and then I get the WG crap. Yeah.
Hey.
Nice.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess it's me versus Ian.
I had only
Yeah.
one vowel. That was my only vowel. I had RND.
RND.
Hinderer without the I.
Wait a minute. No. Then you had another vowel. You had Hinderer without the. You had E and R? Or
No. I only. Okay. That's wrong. I had one vowel. I
Okay.
kept RND.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure it was RND.
Mhm.
Or was it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because when I played jazz,
Yeah, I mean, I had
I only had one vowel.
Schooner and Choosier here also.
Yeah.
So I was in a bingo.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I could have played Hinder here,
Mm-hmm.
but with all this open, why would I play
Yeah.
Hinder? I could have played Hind, but when I can get that many points and open up 2 spots, and who
Yeah.
knows what you have.
Wait, what did I just? Well, I
Yeah.
just played if. Yeah, I mean.
Sure, you could have,
Yeah.
but there's nothing that says you have to have a bingo beginning.
Of course.
with S.
Yeah, of course.
You might have it there, but
Yeah.
I thought I needed to take some.
I mean, it's so
risks.
many points. I think you have to do it.
Yeah,
I think so.
because I can't get anything anywhere else.
No. I think it's forced.
Yeah. So, and then I only had one vowel there. That's when I kept RND.
It's like our last game too. You just didn't get enough fouls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
There's
think
a
I-
lot of ease.
I mean, some can argue about. I don't know what you. I don't know tax.
was the lead?
I can't remember exactly what I had when I played tax, but it was very little. I think it might have been my only vowel. Yeah, it was my only vowel, and it's the only place I can score.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't have to score, if I want to, but then I would be scoring almost nothing,
I don't know what else you would even do. You want to get rid of the X probably, unless you try to go for an X play here.
Well,
Yeah.
it didn't fit. I'd have to get the right tile.
Oxter, it's not worth it. Yeah,
I didn't think saving the X for that would be
No, it's
much
not.
help.
There aren't enough words. I don't think to go there. This wasn't there. It had Catfisher in this rack. Had ERSCH. I believe that's a word. Catfisher.
I think it is.
Yeah.
That's about it.
No, I just
Man.
sort of committed to trying to play defense and hold on to the 50-point lead. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess at the end, if you'd gotten a 9, then you would have won. But I mean,
I have to.
yeah.
I didn't have the blank.
So what else did you have then?
WIE. I had a WU.
Did you consider twee trying to slip the E? I mean, I don't know how
Keeping
many E's
WU? No, keeping
No.
U? No, I didn't.
EIUD?
No,
I don't know. But, I mean, I'm not saying it's right.
No.
Yeah, it's just tough.
I played
because
4 and
like,
I got the blank, but I got the B and the C
it's
too.
just tough because whatever you do, it's not that hard for me to plot.
I know, but
Yeah, you have to try something.
I have to try something. I mean, I'm still hoping to get an AGE ending.
Yeah, right. So you want to keep an E. Yeah. It's so hard to get a 9 with a W, though. That's the thing.
I know.
I don't know. I guess we should get this in.
Yep.
Making it interesting, Joe?
I couldn't do too much because I had bowel problems.
Did you have 356 to 403, Joe?
Yep.
You had too many of them?
No, the opposite. He had too few of them again.
Yeah, I see some bell dumps on the board.
That was me.
I had rack problems. I couldn't do much because I didn't have enough vowels. So I was kind of forced to make plays. I hated to play Mark. It was horrible. But on the other hand, I wasn't that far down. So if you get an average play of 40 points, I'm still in it. And there was no other place to score.
Mm-hmm. But what else did you have? No, I assume no other vowels.
No. On this rack, I had another A, Marca. But I kept A and D with that.
So
no E, right, for me.
No.
It's like Sarosh was the difference, probably.
It was the big difference.
I mean, I still had Chuzier at school.
Yeah. So that was the big difference. I had to play this because it was my only way to score. I only had one vowel.
Congratulations
Matt,
to our
he got
NWL
this. I got
finalists,
this to stay in
Mack
it.
Meller and Ian Weinstein.
Congrats, Matt.
Thanks. Yeah.
What about, did he say iron one?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter now.
No, I know.
I don't think he said, but.
Well, it does matter because if Iron loses 3 games, someone else.
Oh. I guess
Yeah.
Ian won then. Did Ian win? Did Ian win?
They just congratulated him. So.
Did Iron won then?
Well, unless he screwed up that.
I don't know if they.
Iron won.
I didn't hear. Okay.
Iron won. By a lot.
Oh, okay. All right.
No more games for you.
I really want to
So Ian, I just gonna play like.
I really want to make that
games
happen.
play
It just
then?
doesn't
I think
work.
we'll just.
Like what happened?
Oh, just the griff with the E and then come
That
on.
happened at the very end. I didn't have
I'm
it.
ask if they want me to say.
Sure, I could have played
You want me to say a
EAU
couple
there.
words? Okay.
Kept WU. If I play EAU, I keep a WUG.
It looks like you had a game that had weird.
Yeah, I
Like 4-letter words.
I didn't have much.
All right. Well, what an exciting morning for us. We are going to get everybody at home a little interview with one of our 2 NWL finalists, Mack Meller. And you heard the announcement that Mack and Ian, the 2 finalists confirmed for this NWL field. I see from the confused look on Mack's face that he can't hear me yet. So I'm going to keep talking until they're able to figure out how to route audio to this headset. But we're going to try to get Mack on the headset, figure out how he can hear me, how we can hear him. We're just going to put Christian's headset on him. These guys think so fast on their feet and figure all of this stuff out. So
Wait,
we're
what's
going to use
happening?
Christian's
Okay.
headset for the mic and Mack's headset for the audio. We got it all figured out. Mack, congratulations on clinching your spot in the finals, a great game over Joe Edley. How does it feel to be in this moment right now?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I had quite a lucky morning today, and then this game definitely some nice draws as well. I had a very intense game. It's worth mentioning right before lunch, 2 point win over Chloe, which I believe you were all commentating as well. We had to rush off to launch, so I didn't really get to say anything about it, but I did just want to say congrats to Chloe as well on an awesome tournament. She played a great game there. I mean, to keep it that interesting when I got 2 blanks and 3 S's. So just wanted to say that, and yeah, of course, in terms of this game, I mean, I was just sort of up a lot the whole way. A couple interesting turns throughout, like alluvial over ovule. I definitely sacrificed a lot to try to play defensively. And I was fortunate that Joe had very few vowels throughout the game, as he told me afterwards. So, yeah, just another stroke of good luck there. I've had a lot of those this tournament, but that's certainly what it takes to do well in this strong a field. So I'm very happy with how I've been playing, and I know Ian's been winning a lot and playing really well. So I'm excited for tomorrow. Ian's already beaten me twice this tournament, and I know him very well. I've played a number of games with him in tournaments and some casual sessions down in Florida where he lives, and I've spent some time. So, yeah, really looking forward to it, and hope it'll be fun for everyone to watch tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun for all of us to watch tomorrow. You and Ian, two fantastic players. It takes a lot of luck to win a field this stacked, but it also takes incredible and consistent play. We have seen that from you beginning to end. I want to focus less on the last 4 days for you and more on the last 10 years for you. How does it feel finally, after all these attempts, to be at this juncture for a tournament like this?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've come in second, third before at past nationals, but I was never really in the running to actually win. Since the year I came in second was the year that Will Anderson ran away with it and was Gibsonized with 3 games to go. And the year I came in third, I actually started really poorly and then clawed my way back. That was the year that David Gibson won. So obviously the job is not done yet. Ian is definitely going to have something to say about me winning the whole thing tomorrow. But yeah, it feels great, and I'm super excited. And whatever happens tomorrow, it's certainly going to view this as a success. And it was great to see everybody. And yeah, hope to finish on a good note tomorrow. But either way, hopefully it'll be great games and really entertaining for the viewers.
Mac, we are so excited for you. We are so excited for the matchups tomorrow. We're going to let you step away from this. Go give your friends a big hug. Congratulations on your performance. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
We'll see you, Mac. And we'll see the rest of you in just a few minutes. Because NWL is completely drama-free, we're going to take a break and then figure out which CSW matchup. There's still a lot happening over in that division. We'll spell it all out for you and bring you that drama. 2 games to go today. Y'all don't go anywhere. More Scrabble coming your way soon.